Fox News. President Trump today speaking out about former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn's plea of guilty for lying to the FBI about meetings with Russians.
Well, you have to remember that Michael Flynn, he was one of the first supporters to come out of the president, and he did so at a time when hardly anyone in the international affairs community was willing to do so. So President Trump has long stood by Michael Flynn and supported him, and he's praised him even after he was fired for lying to the vice president. The president called him a good man and said he wished he didn't have to fire him. Today, the president tweeted, "I had to fire General Flynn because he lied to the vice president and the FBI. He has pled guilty to those lies. It is a shame because his actions during the transition were lawful. There was nothing to hide."
Fox's Garrett Tenney. After a tough battle, the GOP tax reform bill is passed by the Senate. The next step is reconciliation with a House version of the bill.
The two are pretty far apart at this point, but Republicans seem to be very motivated to cut a deal. The House is coming back a day early on Monday to start the process. If it's successful, this would be a huge win for the president. Sure, it's a massive overhaul. It permanently cuts the corporate tax rate from 35% to 20%. It cuts individuals' tax rates more modestly for the next 10 years.
Fox's Caroline Shively. It's not what authorities in North Carolina wanted to announce about a missing 3-year-old girl.
The FBI and the Onslow County Sheriff's Office announcing near the northeast Cape Fear River in North Carolina that a dive team found the remains of 3-year-old Mariah Woods at 5:30 p.m. today. This is now being investigated as a homicide. Now, Mariah's mother, Christy, reported her daughter missing on Monday morning. She says the last time she saw her was Sunday night at 11 when she put Mariah to bed.
Fox's Brian Yennis, the boyfriend of Mariah's mother, has been arrested in the case. Fox News, fair and balanced.
Air Comfort Service Heating and Cooling. Weather.
The official FM News Talk 97.1 Weather Center forecast calls for it to stay nice for the rest of the weekend, then big changes next week. Moonlit for tonight, mild with lows 35 to 40. Tomorrow warm for December with sunshine and a few clouds. Nice day with the high 66. Clouding up low 53 tomorrow night. Windy and warm Monday, but mainly cloudy with a couple of showers. High near 70. A gusty thunderstorm that evening, then much colder Tuesday. I'm meteorologist Frank Strait for FM News Talk 97.1.
Trending on FM News Talk 97.1.
Kate Steinle case.
The verdict?
Not guilty.
An accidental occurrence. Verdict should be respected.
Stay connected.
Congressman Conyers should resign.
Nancy Pelosi did not elect a congressman.
Do you want Rex Tillerson on the job, Mr. President?
He's here. Rex is here.
General Flynn is coming forward.
Knowingly misled FBI agent.
FM News Talk 97.1.
The largest tax cut before Christmas comes.
Younger, smarter, better.
FM News Talk 97.1 presents Psych with Mike with Michael Mahon. Brought to you by Royal Gate Dodge. Royal Gate Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram with the largest inventory of new Dodge vehicles in St. Louis. Visit them in Ellisville, Missouri or Columbia, Illinois. Online at royalgatecars.com. This is Psych with Mike.
Good evening and welcome into the Royal Gate Dodge Studios. This is Psych with Mike, and I hope that everybody had a fantastic Thanksgiving, that everyone is full of turkey, and that, or maybe not full of turkey, maybe I hope that people are actually over their turkey comas so that they can actually listen to the show and get something out of it and not fall asleep and be snoring by 8:30. You think I should wish for them to be awake or wish for them to be turkey comaed?
No turkey coma.
Yeah. So
Too much turkey.
You know what is in turkey that causes you to be sleepy, right?
Allegedly, it's tryptophan?
Yes. So tryptophan, which is a precursor to a neurotransmitter called serotonin. And serotonin actually is a neurotransmitter that has to do with the regulation of sleep-awake cycles, but do you know, you probably don't know this, but we've actually talked about this on the show, that the overwhelming majority of serotonin receptors in the human body are actually in the gut.
Really?
Yes. So when you actually process food, you actually have neurotransmitter receptors in other parts of your body, and serotonin, you have more serotonin receptors in your gut than you do in your brain. And so the gut, by people who actually study such things, is actually called the second brain. So it can't actually engage in what we would consider higher level abstract thought, but a lot of your mood and a lot of your emotional regulation is handled through the gut.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, and that's why people eat for emotional
to feel
reasons.
better.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you have those neurotransmitter receptors in your gut. So the tryptophan, which is a precursor to serotonin, it gets, you eat all that turkey, it goes into your gut, it gets metabolized, it turns into serotonin, and then it makes you very, very sleepy. So that's actually why it happens. And I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. Did you have a enjoyable things? Tremendous.
Everything was great.
Good. I actually was at the hospital, so we had Thanksgiving at the hospital, which I was actually. I could lie. I'm not gonna lie. I was actually torn about, because on the one hand, I see the positiveness, I don't think that's a word, but it's a word now. I'm going to use it because I said it out loud. So the positive aspects of that, but it felt odd to me. So the positive aspects of it were there are a lot of people in the hospital, and the nursing staff and all the other people who were there in the neuro ICU, and all of those individuals we shared that Thanksgiving with. But at the same time, it felt odd to me. It felt a little disrespectful, but I don't know. I mean, I don't feel like it was disrespectful, but that's how it felt to me. So I was torn. Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah. And I
deep
don't,
thoughts there.
Yeah. I don't know why it felt that way. I mean, I guess because, it's a somber place, and there's a lot that's going on there. But like I said, I was torn, but we did it, and I'm glad that we did it, because I think there were a lot of people who got a lot of really positiveness out of it. But for me personally, it felt very odd. So I could see how other people could also feel like it was very odd. But I hope everybody had a pleasant Thanksgiving. We are now full bore into the holiday season. So for somebody like me in the field of psychotherapy, the holiday season is a blessing and a curse. A lot of people oftentimes struggle with the holiday season. And so it is fun to be in the holidays, and I try and always promote a very positive message. My message is always don't try and do too much. Always give yourself permission to do what you want to do and to take care of yourself. And anybody who doesn't understand that or doesn't feel like that's enough, that's a problem for them, not a problem for you. And always try and keep a positive outlook, because the most important thing for me, the most important thing about this time of year is the connectedness to other human beings. That's what this is supposed to all be about. So my favorite Christmas, we've never talked about this. My favorite Christmas song is The Little Drummer Boy. Do you have a favorite Christmas song?
Christmas Wrapping by the Waitresses.
Fantastic. We were just talking about Frankie Valli, and now you're coming with that. That's fantastic. My second favorite Christmas song is The Christmas Song by Dave Matthews, because I love the message of that, which is that, even though all of this horrible stuff was happening to Jesus, he still loved everybody, because that's how he was built. He was made that way, and he couldn't not love people. And for me, that's the message of Christmas, is that we should love everybody. So whether you're celebrating Christmas, you're celebrating Kwanzaa, you're celebrating Hanukkah, the season is about love, and it's about sharing, and it's about human connection. And that doesn't have anything to do with buying gifts or trying to be perfect or rushing around and trying to make things perfect for someone else. That's not what this is about. So again, I'm always trying to promote that positive message of Christmas. I'm going to do that all season long in my office. I'm going to do that all season long here. But tonight, what I wanted to do is to continue the conversation that we were having last week about why psychotherapy works, because after I left last week, what I realized was that that's a really, really big topic. And so last week, what we talked about was a couple of different theories of psychotherapy. So we talked about cognitive behavior therapy and psychodynamic therapy and existential psychology. And we talked about the motivational aspects or the understanding that those theories provide for trying to help people through their struggles in a psychotherapeutic way and why that was effective. And so then I started thinking about it, and what I realized was that is good and important information, but also good and important information is the way in which the therapist presents himself or herself, and that might actually be just as important or more important than what we were talking about last week. So that's what I want to talk about tonight. So if you want to get involved in that conversation, talk about your experiences in psychotherapy, what made that good or not good, or if you have anything you want to talk about over the holidays, whether it was Thanksgiving that's already passed or the holidays that are coming up, area code 314-969-9797, 866-455-9797 to join the show and give us a comment or ask a question. So the first thing that I want to kind of think about, so I want to put this out loud, and then if you, producer Frank, if you have an answer, then certainly I would love to hear what your thoughts are on this. But if you are going to go to see a therapist, what would you want out of that?
I would want to be fixed. I would think there was a problem. Most people might have a problem, and they want that problem solved.
Right. And
right?
So, well, yes. And so people always go to therapy to talk about a problem. I tell people all the time, no one goes to therapy because there's a problem. You go and you talk about a problem, but you go because there's a problem that's causing you emotional dysregulation. So if you aren't emotionally dysregulated, then it doesn't matter how big the problem is, you'd be okay. If you're dysregulated, it doesn't matter how small the problem is, you probably need some kind of help with it. So it's really this idea of emotional regulation that is most important. And so the presentation of the therapist is essential in helping people be able to feel comfortable and to be able to move through a process of better emotional regulation. So going from a dysregulated state to a better regulated state. Now, one of the things that I think will happen, that happens often, is that people will start to feel better. So they'll be more emotionally regulated. And then they'll think, okay, I can be done with therapy. And they really haven't solved the initial problem or any problem, but they feel better. And so then they feel like that they can discontinue therapy, which is okay. That's always everybody's choice. And they can always go back if they find out that they didn't actually solve the original problem. But it's really this idea of emotional regulation that actually is important. And the way that the therapist presents themselves is going to be really important in how people feel that they are moving through that process, whether that's effective or ineffective. So I wanted to just tell a really quick story. Some years ago, I had a client come in, and it actually was Thanksgiving. Actually, I think it was either the day before Thanksgiving or the day after Thanksgiving. I don't remember which. this gal came in, and I was seeing her special. So it was a special deal, and that's why I remember it was either late the night before Thanksgiving or the day after Thanksgiving, because it was a special deal that I had agreed to see her. And she came in and she was talking about all of these issues, and I felt like that we really had a good rapport. So rapport is the emotional connection between two human beings. And I felt like we really had a good rapport. And at one point, she said, I had asked her a question about, how do you see yourself? And so for me, I'm very much interested in people's perceptions of their identity, because I think that that question of identity is always a central focus. So for me, I've said this before, I'm a psychodynamic practicing therapist. I believe in what you would call the id, the ego, the superego. We're not going to go through all of those things. But in the ego, your identity is a part of your ego, and those things have to be solid for you to be able to have good self-esteem. So I'm always interested in people's perceptions of their identity. So I'd ask this gal, what do you see your identity as? How do you see yourself? And she said, well, I'm a painter. So, okay, that's cool. So that is a creative, artistic identity, and I'm always very interested in creative, artistic identities because I find those to be very flexible identities, and so I was really impressed with this. So I said, well, how often do you paint? She said, I haven't painted in 20 years. So I said, well, then you're not a painter. Right? Because if you haven't done something in 20 years, you are not actively that thing. And when I said that, my intent was not to undermine or impugn her concept of her identity. And at the time, I didn't get the sense that that had happened, but apparently, so we had made another appointment at the end of the session, and she didn't keep it. And eventually, what I found out through a third party was that she was very upset about the way that I had handled that. Now, I'm not saying that that is right or wrong or whatever. If, that was her experience, she has every right to that experience. My intent was not to undermine her perception of her own identity, but in my world, you aren't a thing that you haven't done for 20 years. In her world, she very much saw herself as this thing and was very much invested in this identity, even though she had not actively pursued it for a very long period of time. So that's what I mean by, the presentation of the therapist. Now, I've always told people I'm not everybody's cup of tea, and that's okay with me. And if people don't like the way that I do psychotherapy, that's okay with me. You are a consumer of a product. You are a purchaser of a service. That product, that service should meet your expectations and satisfy your needs, or you should find somebody else to service you or to give you that product. It isn't anybody. You should never compromise your own sense of, you should never compromise your sense of safety ever, but you should never compromise your belief in what you are getting out of psychotherapy because somebody has credentials or they've come highly recommended or whatever. So if you don't feel like you're getting what you need, you should go see somebody else. I'm always okay with that if I'm not somebody's cup of tea. But for me, it is very important to be honest and very realistic and rational. Not everybody is going to respond to that the same way. People who come and see me and stay with me, they want that. That is what they want. I had a guy just the other day who said to me, you're really being kind of soft on me now, and I don't like it. So he's like, I really want my psychotherapy to hurt a little bit. That's what he said. And I thought that was fantastic. So this guy really, really wanted to be challenged. Now, the reason that I was being soft on him is because he has made a lot of changes. He's grown a tremendous amount. And so I didn't see myself as being soft. I saw myself as being very encouraging. So I was really taking a different track where I was actively trying to find opportunities to reinforce and encourage these positive changes that he had made, to be able to hopefully promote that in him and make it more likely that he would continue. But he really wanted to be challenged. So he wanted me to continue to try and find the ways in which he wasn't making his goals and to really challenge him on that. So people who come and see me and people who stay with me, they know that I am a very straight talker. They know that I'm also, that I can explain a lot about, like we were talking about, the precursor, why tryptophan is something that makes you sleepy, because it's a precursor to serotonin, and you have all these serotonin receptors in your gut. So people know that I have a pretty broad knowledge base, and they want that too. But you're not going to stay with me if you want to be, and I'm going to say this, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but it's going to sound negative. If you want to be coddled by your grandmother, you don't want to come and see me, because that's not how I practice. But I do want to talk a little bit about what that is, because when you think about psychotherapy, most people think, about somebody, either a man or a woman, who's wearing a sweater, who is talking very quietly, much like Mr. Rogers, and is making them feel very emotionally comfortable. That is a way of doing therapy. That isn't the way I do therapy. Now, I don't deliberately try and make people feel emotionally uncomfortable. That would be silly, and nobody would continue to do therapy with me. But I am much more straightforward and much more, I don't want to say analytic. Analytical isn't the word, but much more, because I am very compassionate, but I'm very much more, I would say, rational. And some people want something different. And so when you think about that difference, a lot of what that is would be under the heading of Rogerian therapy. So Carl Rogers and humanistic psychology. So we're going to go to our first break. When we come back, we're going to talk about Carl Rogers, Rogerian therapy, humanistic psychology, what that is, why that is effective for some people. So join us on the other side. Be right back.
Talk lines are open now, 314-969-9797 or toll free 866-455-9797. This is Psych with Mike. Log on to 971talk.com for your chance to pick a prize. Each week, we'll select one winner to choose from concert tickets, movie passes, and more. Sign up and see what you could win at 971talk.com. Brought to you by Marcus Brandenburg Theaters, where movies every Tuesday are just $5.
It's Royal Gate's Race to the Finish sales event, and they're ready to destroy their all-time sales record. The fastest-growing dealer with the area's largest Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram inventory has declared a year-out clear-out. All new 2016, 17, and 18s must go. No model year is safe. Everything must be cleared out. No exceptions. Double price cuts, big finish event rebates, driving force discounts, and trade-ins, bring them, paid for or not, because if you're upside down, the driving force specializes in getting you right side up. Shop RoyalGateCars.com now, because the Race to the Finish sales event is only for a limited time. 2 locations, Royal Gate in Ellisville, Missouri, and in Columbia, Illinois. Just 5 minutes from South County. #1 for all the right reasons.
Royal Gate, the driving force.
With approved credit, negative equity added to new contract, MWBC FCA sales reports. Based on combined inventory compared to area DCJR dealers.
When our infant son Liam needed a new heart, we turned to the SLU Care Transplant Specialist at SSM Health Cardinal Glennon Children's Hospital. After months of waiting, He received a transplant on Christmas Day.
My match is my hero. He saved my life.
Today, Liam is stronger, happier, and healthier. Learn how organ donation can save lives. Visit cardinalglennon.com/transplant.
My husband Josh was born battling kidney disease and struggled on dialysis for years. With the help of Slough Care transplant specialists at SSM Health St. Louis University Hospital, I discovered I was a match and could donate.
My match is my hero. She's also my wife.
Today, we're happy, healthy, and expecting our first baby. Learn how living kidney donation can save lives. Visit ssmhealth.com/transplant.
It's Royal Gate's Race to the Finish sales event, and they're ready to destroy their all-time sales record. The fastest growing dealer with the area's largest Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram inventory has declared a year-out clear-out. All new 2016, 17, and 18s must go. No model year is safe. Everything must be cleared out. No exceptions. Double price cuts, big finish event rebates, driving force discounts, and trade-ins, bring them, paid for or not, because if you're upside down, the driving force specializes in getting you right side up. Shop RoyalGateCars.com now, because the Race to the Finish sales event is only for a limited time. 2 locations, Royal Gate in Ellisville, Missouri, and in Columbia, Illinois. Just 5 minutes from South County. #1 for all the right reasons.
Royal Gate, the driving force.
With approved credit, negative equity added to new contract, MWBC FCA sales reports. Based on combined inventory compared to area DCJR dealers.
This week we head to Illinois for our next stop on the DGS Christmas Food Drive. Join us on Friday, December 8th at Fast Eddie's Bon Air in Alton, Illinois. Bring a few canned goods or non-perishable food items to help feed the hungry in our area. All the donations benefit Operation Food Surge that directly help local food pantries in the community. So come out to Fast Eddie's in Alton this Friday and bring a canned good for the DGS Christmas Food Drive. Get all the details at 971talk.com. Brought to you by More Choice Jewelry and Lion's Choice.
Follow Mike on Twitter at Psych With Mike. Now, more Psych With Mike on FM News Talk 97.1.
Welcome back into the Royal Gate Dodge Studios. So in the first segment, we started talking about this idea, which was a carryover from last week, about how the presentation of the therapist affects the therapy session. And I've been talking a little bit about, I'm the only, well, I know lots of therapists, but I know myself most intimately, so I'm using myself as an example, and that I tend to be pretty rational and tend to be fairly straightforward, and that is a presentation. Some people appreciate that, some people wouldn't, and that's okay. You need to find the presentation that is right for you. So I know they give you the phone lines, but if you want to get in on this conversation, area code 314-969-9797, 866-455-9797. And Becky is on the phone. She says that some of the stuff that we're talking about is having an impact on her. So hello, Becky, how are you?
Hi, Dr. Mahon. I'm a little older and have been through probably 4 therapists in my life. Okay, I'm approaching 60. And I appreciate what you're saying. The bond has to be there. The trust has to be there. And believing in the therapist's approach has to be there. Mm-hmm. Because probably 2 of the therapists didn't work out for me, and I would encourage anybody that's listening to you, if they believe in what you're saying, they see you, and if they are with their therapist that's not working, find another one. It's not you can't give up. You have to find somebody that will, and here's my way of therapy. If you're willing to go through the big black maze, this is the way I look at it. Mm-hmm. If you have something that you have to overcome, and I know I can't put in the way that you did earlier about a problem or the way you started the program, but I look at therapy as a big black maze, a big blackout maze, and the person gets in the maze, and the only way out is through my own work, but the therapist works you through the turns and the twists.
Right. I think that's a great analogy.
And you have to find the right therapist. And for me, feeling and is not, I'd rather know the biology behind something. But some people may know, would like to have the thinking behind it and the feeling. But there's lots of different therapists out there. And so I appreciate you saying that there's different methods out there.
Well, thank you. You have a great night.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. So I could not have said it any better. And it's always great when that gets then reinforced through someone else's experience. I know therapy, I mean, I'm in therapy. I've always been in therapy. I wouldn't do therapy without being in therapy. But my experience in therapy is probably radically different because of what I do. It's like I know how to do psychological testing, which means that I wouldn't be able to take psychological tests because I essentially know the answers. So it wouldn't be effective for me to go and get a battery of psychological tests done because I'm trained to actually do those tests. But when I hear someone else talking about their experiences in therapy, that's really rewarding for me to hear that. And as I was saying, again, if the way that you are getting therapy isn't working for you, don't give up on therapy. I think that Becky's point was very salient. Go and find somebody else to help you through, as she was saying, that maze, because different people are going to do therapy differently. Now, I'm not going to lie. I think I'm the best therapist in the world. I hope that everybody who does therapy thinks they are the best at it. You don't want your brain surgeon to worry about whether or not they're mediocre, right? You want everybody who's operating on your brain to think they are the absolute best at what they are doing. And when you're talking about therapy, what is that other than brain surgery? It's literally brain surgery without actually opening up your coconut. So if you want whoever is doing that to be very, very skilled and to believe in themselves, but everybody's approach isn't going to be the same. So, when we talk about this idea that I had started talking about before the break, Rogerian psychology. So Carl Rogers was this guy who very much believed in the human connection. And I believe in the human connection also. I would not call myself necessarily a Rogerian therapist. I will say my son, who has been on the show before a couple of times and is a trained therapist, he is very Rogerian. So his approach to the way that he does therapy in the room with another human being is different than mine. And the Rogerian approach is very much based on this idea of human connection. So the information that I put out on the at Psych With Mike Facebook page and tweeted out at Psych With Mike, so you can go to at Psych With Mike on Facebook and like the page, or you can follow me on Twitter at Psych With Mike. I always try and put some kind of information out there to help you to be able to link what we are talking about on the show with some additional resources. And the information that I put up there was on this idea of Rogerian psychotherapy, and there were 6 factors for growth that they listed on that article that were important. So the first one was the therapist-client psychological contact. And basically in the Rogerian approach, what they believe is that the client and the therapist have to have a foundation of trust, as Becky was saying, that is the most important thing. Now, this is absolutely something that I believe in 100%. But there are different ways that you can build that trust. So you can be very grandmothery or very grandfathery, and you can create what is called a safe holding, an emotional safe holding environment. And you can make someone feel nurtured, and that can help a person feel emotionally comfortable and build trust. I don't not do that. I don't, try and make people feel emotionally uncomfortable, but that is a different way. I don't work hard. I don't make it my mission to be very, very nurturing and very, very grandmotherly or grandfatherly, because my strength is in my knowledge base and being able to present information to the client and to help them to see the way that they are perceiving situations in a different way. So one of the ways that you can create that nurturing environment is being by, and to establish trust is by being very, very emotionally nurturing in a grandmotherly or grandfatherly way. Another way is by what I do, which is to give people information, very complex information, in a way that they can access and understand. So when people hear me speak and they say, oh, that makes a lot of sense to me, that also creates a foundation of trust. So that's that first factor in Rogerian psychology, the therapist-client psychological contact. Then the second one is client incongruence or vulnerability. So in Rogerian therapy, the idea is that there's this discrepancy between the client's self-image and their actual experience. And that is something that I believe in very strongly. So I call that cognitive dissonance. So I tell people all the time, the only way that you can create anxiety is through cognitive dissonance. So your brain can be organically depressed. You can have an inappropriate amount of neurotransmitters. You can have the amount can be too low, or they can be ineffectively used or processed, and that can cause you to be depressed. That can be an organic thing that happens inside your brain. You can't be organically anxious. So you have to be engaged in some kind of thought process to create anxiety in human beings. And the way that that happens is through this idea of cognitive dissonance, the inability to hold two conflicting thoughts simultaneously. That's what creates anxiety in human beings. And so that second factor in that article is what they're talking about. So I have this perception of myself, and it is different than what my actual experience is, and I can't resolve that. So maybe I believe that I am much more accomplished than I actually am, and that causes me some kind of cognitive dissonance, but usually it's the other way around. The greatest amount of cognitive dissonance is created when people believe they are less accomplished than what their actual environmental experiences would suggest. And it is oftentimes, as a psychotherapist, it is oftentimes harder to get a person to recognize that they're actually more accomplished than how they themselves perceive. And when a person feels like they are less successful than what their experience is, then they reinforce that idea in themselves. And psychotherapy is about trying to help them to be able to see that more appropriately and more accurately. Then the third factor that is on that in that article is the therapist congruence or genuineness. And this is the thing. If I were going to call myself Rogerian, this would be the thing that I think I am the most Rogerian about. I believe 100% that as a therapist, you have to be genuine. So I come on the radio and I share a lot of myself and a lot of my own personal experience. I share that same amount and even more when I'm in therapy with my clients. So a lot of people wouldn't do that. A lot of people wouldn't feel comfortable being able to share that kind of information with their clients. And actually, when you go through graduate school, there is a lot of education on the amount of self-disclosure that you are encouraged to share. So a lot of people are taught that you shouldn't share anything about yourself or very little about yourself because that might actually influence the client and make them perceive you in a negative way. I'm not worried about that because I believe that there are enough people in the world that want to go to psychotherapy that I'll be able to continue to practice when people come and see me, and people are going to be more attracted to me because they know that I am genuine, because they know I am a human being, because they know that I am fallible. So I talk a lot about my own history with addiction and a lot of the things that I have done that I'm maybe not necessarily very proud of, but were mistakes in my life that I overcame. And the reason that I do that is because I want people to understand I know that people can change, because I've seen that happen in my life. I've seen that happen in my practice. And so it doesn't matter how bleak that you think that your situation is. I know that that can change. And the way that I know is because I've been there and I share that. That makes me genuine. And I think that people appreciate that because they see that that comes from a very sincere place. Okay, we got to go to our second break. So when we come back, we're going to talk more about this idea of Rogerian psychology and what makes that a positive experience for clients. If you want to get in on the conversation, area code 314-969-9797, 866-455-9797. Be right back.
Follow Mike on Twitter at Psych With Mike. Talk lines are open now, 314-969-9797, or toll free 866-455-9797.
We have a traffic incident to report. Westbound Highway 270 is closed between 367 and Old Halls Ferry due to a police incident. Drivers are being detoured off westbound Highway 270 at 367. Highway 270 shut down just after 367 between 367 and Old Halls Ferry.
The Allman 12 Days of Christmas is here, and this week we're giving away daily prizes like tickets to Blues Hockey, A Christmas Carol at the Fox, and Wild Lights at the Zoo. Register to win the grand prize. It includes almost all of the giveaways combined. Enter to win at 971talk.com, brought to you by Next Radio.
It's Royal Gate's Race to the Finish sales event, and they're ready to destroy their all-time sales record. The fastest growing dealer with the area's largest Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram inventory has declared a year-out clear-out. All new 2016, 17, and 18s must go. No model year is safe. Everything must be cleared out. No exceptions. Double price cuts, big finish event rebates, driving force discounts, and trade-ins, bring them, paid for or not, because if you're upside down, the driving force specializes in getting you right side up. Shop RoyalGateCars.com now, because the Race to the Finish sales event is only for a limited time. 2 locations, Royal Gate in Ellisville, Missouri, and in Columbia, Illinois. Just 5 minutes from South County. #1 for all the right reasons.
Royal Gate, the driving force.
With approved credit, negative equity added to new contract, MWBC FCA sales reports. Based on combined inventory compared to area DCJR dealers.
Hey, Tim Jones here for Universal Windows Direct. I hate to say it, winter is here. You've probably already turned on the heat, and you know what that means? The heating bill is on the way. If you didn't do anything about it last year, it's gonna happen again. It doesn't have to be like that. That's why you need to call my guys at Universal Windows Direct. They've been providing beautiful, energy-efficient windows for over 15 years. Their windows are gonna save you money. Why? How? They're specially made to perform in our unpredictable climate. They got this cool aerospace technology called Super Spacer. Keeps the edge of the glass warmer, holds the window seal longer. You get the best windows for your home within your budget with a true lifetime warranty. It's not too late to make sure you're ready for this winter. Universal Windows Direct is making it easy with this great offer for every window you buy. The next window's free. There's no limits. 0% financing for 36 months. Call today, 314-878-0300, or go to universalwindowsstlouis.com. That's universalwindowsstlouis.com. Like me, you'll be saying, I love my windows.
How will you explain this to your mother? To the woman who calls you the light of her life? What made you do it? Turn on your own flesh and blood? What made you give Beth from HR a winning scratcher's ticket worth $500,000? And your own mother? A candle set. A candle set. Don't punish your mother with a candle set. Gift wisely this season. Give Missouri Lottery holiday scratchers.
The Monster Energy Supercross 2018 season is here. On race day, preparation turns into determination as the world's greatest dirt bike riders give it everything they've got.
It's all about going to battle, for you. You're the guy that lays it on the line.
Here comes a gate drop.
Tickets are on sale now. Monster Energy AMA Supercross and FIM World Championship coming to the Dome at America Center March 17th. Visit supercrosslive.com. Lock in your seats today.
Janie Allman in the morning.
Hey, Monday, the general tripped up by the FBI. What's it all mean? We have the Gateway Pundit. We have Maria Bartiromo, Rod DeBot, and Rob Rains on sports.
On FM News Talk
97.1.
Talk lines are open now. 314-969-9797 or toll free 866-455-9797. Now, more Psych with Mike on FM News Talk 97.1.
Welcome back into the Royal Gate Dodge Studios. This is Psych with Mike. We are back talking about Rogerian psychology, and last week we were talking about we had started talking about what makes psychotherapy work, and I had discussed a couple of different theories of psychology or ways of doing psychology: cognitive behavior therapy, psychodynamic theory, and existential psychology. And then I started thinking about, okay, that's an explanation of how people do psychology and what makes that effective, but probably a bigger aspect of what makes psychotherapy really work is the connection between the therapist and the client. And so I thought that I would kind of talk about that and illustrate that by talking about Rogerian psychology, because that's really the form of psychology. If you imagine psychology or being done, or you see psychology being performed on a screen on either the TV or the movies, you're going to see basically one of two different kinds of psychology. You're either going to see what we would consider standard or classic psychoanalytic theory or psychology, psychoanalysis, where somebody's laying on a couch and the therapist is sitting behind them in a chair, unseen by them, and the person is talking, and the therapist actually adds almost nothing to the conversation or very little to the conversation. And that's classic psychoanalysis. And I am psychodynamic, which isn't classic psychoanalytic, so I don't sit behind my clients and have them prone on a couch. I do face-to-face therapy, and if you see somebody doing face-to-face therapy, then you kind of are seeing them do what's called humanistic psychology. That's what we think of, and that was actually promoted by this guy, Carl Rogers. And we're down to the fourth aspect or factor that is in an article that I posted on the website, on the Facebook page at Psych With Mike, and tweeted out at Psych With Mike. So you can follow me either on Twitter, or you can go to the Psych With Mike Facebook page at Psych With Mike on Facebook and get that information. And on that article, the fourth factor is called therapist unconditional positive regard. And this is the big thing. So unconditional positive regard is something that is very much a foundational cornerstone of psychotherapy in the United States. Now, it's become that way pretty much now across the world, but what is unconditional positive regard? And so in the article, they define that as the client's experiences, positive or negative, should be accepted by the therapist without any condition or judgment. So basically, unconditional positive regard means that you come to my office and it doesn't matter what you say to me. I'm not going to judge you. I'm not going to put conditions on that. I'm not going to tell you what you can talk about, what you can't talk about. I'm not going to draw judgments about what you talk about. And when you are operating in a way of unconditional positive regard, you are creating that safe emotional holding environment for the client. And what you are then promoting is this idea of empathy. So empathy for me is the cornerstone, the most important factor of psychotherapy, is that I make an empathic connection with my clients. So what is empathy? Empathy is different than what we would call sympathy. So if you go to Hallmark and you go to the section on loss, you're not going to buy an empathy card. You're going to buy a sympathy card. Why do we talk about sympathy? Sympathy is defined as understanding how another person feels. Empathy is defined as being able to experience the emotions of another as if they were your own. So when I came in tonight, I was talking to both producer Frank and engineer Ken about, I went and got my Star Wars tickets, and I know that when I go see Star Wars that I am going to cry. I cry at movies. Why is that? Because I am super, super empathic. What that means is that I put myself in the position of people that I see in therapy, in the position of people that I see on the street, in the position of people that I see on television and in the movies, and I experience those emotions as if they were my own. Now, there's a biological rationale for why human beings experience empathy. They're called mirror neurons, and maybe I'll put a link to an article on mirror neurons up on the Facebook page so that you guys can look into that, because that's a whole show in and of itself. But that is the biological foundation for why human beings are empathetic, and it's the primary reason why autistic people have difficulty being empathetic, is because their mirror neuron system isn't well developed or doesn't function adequately. So we have a biological reason why we experience empathy. But empathetic connectedness is why, for me, that psychotherapy works. So it doesn't matter what your understanding of human pathology is. So your theory of psychology, whether you are cognitive behavioral, psychodynamic, existential, or you are practicing Rogerian theory, those things are called theory therapy. So that's your orientation. That explains how a person understands, how a therapist understands human pathology. Those things are important, but the most important thing is that empathic connection. If you can create an empathic connection between your clients and yourself, then you're going to be successful at doing psychotherapy. You are going to help people regardless of what your understanding of human pathology is. So that's what I think we all want to strive for as therapists. That's what I think is important for you to look for as a consumer of a service. You want to try and find someone that you feel like is going to be able to create this empathic connectedness with you. Now, I try and do that by being genuine and by being someone who is able to contribute to the client's knowledge base through being able to help them to perceive their reality differently, and also helping them to understand more foundationally the actual biology of what's going on inside their body. So I talk a lot about the biology of what's happening inside the human body, like we were talking earlier about this idea that you have all of the serotonin receptors in your gut. I talk a lot about the hormonal biology of emotion, because I believe that knowledge is power. I believe when people understand their bodies, that now it's not mysterious, it's not magic, it isn't something that is beyond their capacity to understand. And if you can understand it, then you can also take control of it and you can change it. So if you come to me, we started off the show by talking about this idea that the reason people seek psychotherapy is because of emotional dysregulation. So you need to be able to change your emotional reality to be able to get better. You need to be able to emotionally regulate more effectively. Well, if emotions are completely mysterious to you and you can't understand them, then in my opinion, it is harder to change those emotional realities. So I try and help people really understand their emotion, and that way they have more power over their emotional presence, over their emotional understanding, and their emotional regulation. So that is what I try and do, and I present that information in a very real, sincere, genuine way. And I approach them with a lot of empathy, and I think that that's how my clients experience that from me, and that is why it works for them. Now, again, I'm not everybody's cup of tea, so some people like more of a grandmotherly, grandfatherly presentation, and that is perfectly fine. And people who do more Rogerian psychotherapy help their clients because they engage in a system or an experience of building that genuineness, that sincerity, and creating that empathetic bond with their clients. And once you create that empathetic bond, then the therapist can help you to be able to better regulate your emotional reality. So that's what it's all about. So just in closing, I just want to make bring up let me start a different way. I want to give you one more tip, okay? When you go to psychotherapy, ask the therapist what kind of therapy they practice. And if they say eclectic, ask them to explain that. So eclectic is a term that means that you practice lots of different therapy in combination, which is fine. I do that, but the person should be able to explain that to you for you to be able to feel good about their conceptualization and their understanding of what that means for them. Okay, so I hope this was helpful for you guys. Join us next week. We are going to be back with Psych with Mike. If it's 8 o'clock, it's Psych with Mike. Follow me on Facebook at Psych with Mike. Follow me on Twitter at Psych with Mike. Talk to you next week.
Now, more Psych with Mike on FM News Talk 97.1.
Westbound Highway 270 remains closed just west of 367.
See the sparkle in her eyes when she opens that box from Diamonds Direct this Christmas. Diamonds Direct, your source for the gifts women want at the guaranteed best price in America. Rings, earrings, pendants, pearls, colored gemstones, enough to supply up to 30 ordinary stores. And to make it easy on your wallet, we've got 3 years, 0 interest financing on any purchase. Get her a $2,000 pair of diamond earrings and pay less than $56 a month. Or a 5-carat tennis bracelet, just $195 a month. And if you're popping the question, this amazing 3-year finance offer also applies to all certified diamonds and all engagement rings. Just take the price, divide by 36, and that's your payment. Diamonds Direct, your direct diamond importer with an expanded selection of sparkling holiday gifts from $200 to $200,000. All with our best value guarantee, free gift wrapping, and free lifetime warranty. Make this Christmas one she'll always remember with the perfect gift from Diamonds Direct. Olive and 270 at City Place. Open extended hours including Sundays now through Christmas. On approved credit.
It's Royal Gate's Race to the Finish sales event, and they're ready to destroy their all-time sales record. The fastest growing dealer with the area's largest Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram inventory has declared a year-out clear-out. All new 2016, 17, and 18s must go. No model year is safe. Everything must be cleared out. No exceptions. Double price cuts, big finish event rebates, driving force discounts, and trade-ins, bring them, paid for or not, because if you're upside down, the driving force specializes in getting you right side up. Shop RoyalGateCars.com now because the race to the finish